In this tutorial, we'll go over for loops. For loops are used when you know how many times you want to loop through a block of code. I'm going to put the syntax up. So we have for, and in the bracket, the first parameter, initialization, then condition, then iteration. Then the curly brackets opening and the curly brackets closing. In between this opening curly bracket and this closing one, we can put statement sequence. So when we start, there's a place we'll specify where we want to end and how we want to move by. And that will determine this if we're going to have the statement sequence. So let's look at the first example. Let's say we want to go from 0 to 10 with steps of 1. We'll have for int, then I equals to 0. So this is our initialization. We have initialized the variable I to 0. Let's say we want to stop at 10. So I can be less than equals to 10. So this means we want to go from 0 to 10 in some way. So we'll specify that I will start at 0 and it has to be less than or equal to 10. It should not be 11, 12, etc. And as we go from 0 to 10, we want to move by steps of 1. And that can be written as I plus plus, which is the short form of writing I equals to I plus 1. I equals to I plus 1 simply means you're going to add 1 to this I. So in the first iteration, I will start at 0. Then in the second one, I plus 1, so then I will be 1. In the next one, I plus 1, so I will be 2. In the next one, I plus 1, so I will be 3. And so on until it gets to 10. Since we specified I must be less than equal to 10. So as it is going from 0 to 10, we want to print out I. So let's run this. Can you see that? So the first time 0, then it came out of this loop, then I was equal will be 1, then it will print out 1, it will come back out, I will be equal to 2, print out 2, and so on. We can also look at going from 5 to 15. So to do that, we'll have to initialize I bracket to 5. I should be less than equal to 15. I plus plus, which is same as I equals to I plus 1. So this is a short form of incrementing I by 1 this way. You cannot have this 4 plus 2. You have to write it out this way. So now that we're only increasing by 1, we have this. So system.out.println, the print line, I. So let's see this one now. So after it goes from 0 to 10, that's 0 to 10, we want it to go from 5 to 15 this way. There's also a way we can make it go from 2 to 10 or 0 to 10 but increase by 2. So let's change it to 0 to 10, but this time around we want to increase by 2. So 0, 2, 4, 6. So you just need to change here I equals to I plus 2. This way. So the first for loop 0 to 10, now 0 to 10 but in steps of 2. So let's go over the for loop again. We have the iteration here where we'll start from the condition. This condition has to be true for this to print, and I equals to I plus 1, that will have the steps to go by the iteration. We can also use for loops with strings. Let's look at that. So we can have for int I equals to 0, and then we might want to stop at the end of the string. Let's say we want to print the start of the string to the end of the string. So first let's declare the string or initialize it. String. Let me call this word hello. So let's say we want to print out this on separate lines. You know, system.out.println can do that. So I remember words start with 0. You can check string operations for that. So we want to start at 0, and we want to end at the length of this, -1. So remember, this is 0, this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So we want to have I to be less than 5, right? And to get 5, that is the length of this word. So we can have word.length. Remember to check string operations tutorial if you can't remember. And go I++. So now as we go from 0 to the word.length is 5. Remember, we're starting from 0 because strings start from 0. We want to print out that particular character in that location. So we can have word dot char at I. So system.out.println word dot char at I. So this means while we go from 0 to less than 5, we want to print out the word that at character I. So it's going to be 0 first, then it will come back out of the for loop. It will be 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. So let's see this. Our first one ran 0 to 10, the next one 0 to 10, but steps of 2. So this one we just put. And the first one, when I is 0, it printed out H. When I is 1, it printed out E, all the way up to I is 4. So it cannot go to 5 because we specified that I must be less than the length of this word, which is 5. So this is the fourth character here because we start from 0. We can also try to print words backward. So let's say we want to print this word backward. We can have for int I equals to, this time around, we need to start from the fourth one. So I should be equal to 4. And another way to get this 4 is by doing word.length -1. It's best to use the name of the string because if you're inputting any random word, you can't just use 4. For example, programming has more than 5 characters. So word.length -1, then I must be greater than or equal to 0, and this time around I should print backwards. So it should decrement this way. Before I run this, I want to show you what I mean with normal examples. So let's say I have for int I equals to 10. I'm going to comment this out so it doesn't confuse you. So let's say we have int I equals to 10 and we print out I is greater than equals to 0 and I minus minus. This means from 10 we're going to go to 9 because of this minus minus, then 8, then 7, then 6. I minus minus is like writing I equals to I minus 1. But if you're using 1 here, you can simply use the short form minus minus. So let's print this out. Let me comment this too. So let's run this. Here you go. So we started at 10 and we specified that I must be greater than or equal to 0. It cannot be less than 0. We can have -1, -2, and so on. And it should go down by minus minus. If we would have left this at plus, from 10 it will go to 11, then 12, then 13, and so on. But since it's minus minus, it's going to come down from 10. So 10, then 9, then 8, and we need to make sure it stops at 0 because we specify that it should not go less than 0. Okay, so now we want to do the same thing. We want to go from 4 to 0. So system.out.print. So this time around, if you don't want to print it on separate lines, remember you don't use the system.out.print line, you just use system.out.print. So we can have word.char at I. So you can also put empty quotes here. So word.char at I, empty quote. Let's see. The hello backwards is Oli. So we started from 4. Word.length minus 1. Remember the length of hello is 5 minus 1. So 4. And remember we need 4 because we start from 0. We start words from 0. So this H is at index 0. You can check out string operations again if you did not watch that video. We can also print the sum of numbers. I'm going to comment this. So 4 int I equals to 1 and I is less than equals to 10, I plus plus. Let's say we want to print out the sum of numbers from 1 to 10. So first we will need a place to store sum. And remember, you just need to initialize sum to 0. Before you start counting, you know your total sum is 0. While you count, you need to change the value of sum. So sum, the new sum should be equals to sum plus I. So this means, first of all, sum is 0. And when it comes in here and I is 1, it's going to print out sum is what? Sum is 0 plus 1. It's then going to print out sum is what we have now in sum, which is 1 plus the next value of I, which is 2. It's then going to print out, so the new sum, is going to be sum equals to what we have in sum. And remember we put 3 in sum. 3 plus the next value of I, which is 3. Then the new sum is going to be what we stored in sum, which is 3 plus 3, that is 6, plus what we plus the next value of I, which is 4, all the way up until I is 10. So the next value, sum, will be equals to 10 plus 5. The next one, sum equals to 15 plus 6, and so on until this 6 is 10. Because remember we specified I should be less than equal to 10. So we can also have nested loops. So nested loops simply means 2 for loops. So we can have 4 int I equals to 0, I less than 5, for example, I plus plus. So in this for loop, we can have for int j. We can use I again because we've already specified I. And maybe when you learn about scopes, you'll know that you can only use I outside this for loop. So for int, you can only declare I outside this for loop. So for int j equals to 0, j is less than 2, j plus plus. So this means, first of all, we'll start with I at 0. And when I is 0, j will have to go from 0 to 2. So j will be 0 and 1 and 2. Then it will come out. Then when I is 1, j will still go from 0, 1, 2, and so on. So let's just print this out so you can understand. I is plus I. Remember concatenation. You can check the variables and string operations if you can't remember. And j is j. So let's print this out. Here you go. So first I will be 0, then j will be 0, 1, 2 before I is 1 again. So first the outer for loop will start and everything inside will have to finish before it goes to the next value in the outer for loop. So that's it for loops for this tutorial. When we move to arrays, you're also going to learn about for loops.